The weather affects everything, from how we feel to how we live. But what's really going on above us? Each week on Atmospheric Insight, we dig deeper into the science of weather and the stories it shapes. This is Atmospheric Insight, where science meets the sky.
Welcome back to Atmospheric Insight. I'm meteorologist Adam Epstein.
I'm meteorologist Riley O'Connor.
Riley, great to see you again.
Yeah.
Back here for another episode, and we are in the heart of summer, so it feels right that we talk about heat. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. So I want to start off with some Sacramento summer statistics, and one of them is the average hottest time of the year based on statistics, July 16th through 28th. So we just finished it. Congratulations, you made it through. So the peak hottest day when you average the high and low is July 22nd. And if you think back to that a week ago, it was actually a pretty mild day. So we have lucked out. Doesn't mean we're not going to see any heat. You have been here just over a year now. Congratulations. It's been a pleasure having you. Well, you'll know that it can get hot in August and September and even October. So we're not done just yet.
No.
The hottest temperature on record, neither of us were here for. That was in 1961. Ironically, it wasn't even in July. 115 degrees.
Yeah.
Do you know the hottest temperature you ever experienced?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, well, it was in Vegas, but I don't remember. It was in the summer. It was hot, but I don't remember.
Like melting your face off.
Yeah,
That's
it
all
was.
like
I can't remember the exact temperature, but yeah, it was hot.
Yeah, I'm sure it was close to 115. That happens in Vegas, happens in Phoenix.
Yeah.
All right, longest heat wave. That's a stretch of 100-degree heat or higher. 10 days. That happened in 1960. And then the latest 100-degree day on record. I mentioned it get hot in October 10th.
Yeah.
1961. So if anyone was in Sacramento in the summers of 1960, 61, probably remember that.
Remember that one.
Yeah. So this summer so far, I've noticed an interesting phenomenon. A lot of people have been commenting to me saying, this is the coolest summer I can remember in my life. Like, this isn't bad at all. I like this. Well, something is happening where our changing climate has made us more accustomed to extreme heat and very hot summers. So anytime we have temperatures that are near normal, we're like, wow, it's cool outside. But in fact, no, it's just normal outside. So our mean temperature is the main metric we use to tell us if we're hotter or cooler or near normal. That averages the highs and lows, 74.5. The normal is 74.5. So pretty miraculous that we're down to a 1/10 of a degree.
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because of course it's State Fair week. And many people are like, I can remember years when it was real hot, in the triple digits. So we're lucky that it's, cooler. I was like, yeah, well, it's pretty much where we're shipping for this time of year.
Right. Last summer was near normal. We were slightly above, and it's about in line where we are now. But 2 summers ago, it was intense heat, and the State Fair on the blacktop was just brutal to be outside in. So we've only had 5 triple-digit days. The average is 13. That's just between June, July, August. The average goes up to 16 if you can include September as well, and even October. Hottest temperature, 104. That happened back-to-back 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
But no 3 days in a row. So 0 heat wave so far, but that might be changing this weekend.
I think, yep.
So you were just looking at the forecast earlier today. What do you think? Are we going to make it to a heat wave?
I think so.
Yeah.
I definitely think so. And, I'm going back and forth with Friday too. So we have 99. I'm like, is it going to go up?
And I've been trying to emphasize to everyone who's watching that it doesn't matter if we're at 98, 99, or 100.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, it feels the same to us.
Yeah.
But for the statistics, for the record books, we'll remember it as a heat wave or not. So what's coming this week? Well, we have this ridge forming, but the axis of the ridge is drawn right through the middle. It's leaning over towards the right. That's called a positive tilt on the axis. So that means it continues its path. Positive tilt, it continues from west to east. A negative tilt can regress. And then when it's neutral, straight up and down, that's the situation you're worried about because it means it's just going to stay where it is. So ridges result in hot weather. And then next week, it looks like another little ridge forms over the west. So we'll have hot air in place, but it's not a huge jump up and down, right? So that would probably tell us that we're going to have temperatures that don't go that far up or down, but stagnate near 100 degrees.
Right.
Hopefully you're okay with that at home.
As long as the overnight lows are okay, comfortable, we can get them down upper 50s, around 60. Hey, we're good.
Bless the Delta breeze. Say that.
Yes.
We live in Davis, in Solano County, a place like Fairfield gets it very strong, and Sacramento, Elk Grove. we are the beneficiaries of that cool breeze overnight. All right, and I saw something pretty amazing on social media that I wanted to share with everyone. And this isn't weather that we get here in Northern California. So we have to go to the Great Plains to see stuff like this. Check it out in this week's Ask Adam.
I am on an incredible Supercell by Sydney, Nebraska.
This video is so sick and these images are amazing. As a meteorologist, I want to explain to you what you're looking at so you could better appreciate it. First off, it's called a supercell thunderstorm, and this right here is what makes it a supercell. That's a mesocyclone, which is rotation within the thunderstorm itself. If you were there in person, this is not where you'd want to be standing. Here is where all the upward air is. Basically, air is getting sucked up into the cloud, and if a tornado forms, this is where it's going to be. And if you see something like this, there's a good chance you're looking at a mesocyclone. This is what's called a shelf cloud, and you can see how it's below the main base of the cumulonimbus. Shelf clouds often have striations like you'd see below, creating these really awesome textures. And then right above, that's that little bit of sometimes daylight, sometimes lightning that makes this look like it's coming from another planet, but I assure you, it's real. Like the shelf cloud, there are some really special, unique cloud accessories that tend to only happen during these strong thunderstorms. One of them is called mammatus, which isn't here. They look like pouches below a cloud. And then you have these waves right below me here that look kind of like asperitas clouds. And this is all due to turbulence, rising and falling air bouncing back and forth pretty quickly. I also want to highlight this haze right next to me. A lot of people don't realize what they're looking at here. This is what rain looks like from a distance. On the other side, you can see more striations from that shelf cloud. And then here at the surface, it's dry. This is called the rear flank downdraft re-up descending air, and this could end up killing the thunderstorm. Once there's enough cool air from the downdraft, it could end up getting sucked into the updraft here, and that cold air could eventually basically choke out the mesocyclone. That will die, and eventually the thunderstorm will fade away. Man, what a picture. I love meteorology, and I hope this explanation allows you to love it a little bit too.
Very cool explanation on that one.
Thank you very much. When I saw that video, I was just like jaw to the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of weather is what initially got me interested in meteorology, thunderstorms in the first place. But still, I haven't seen anything like that.
The
person.
mothership.
Yeah, it looks like the mothership.
It does.
Exactly.
It really does.
Shelf cloud and that glow between the bottom deck of the cumulonimbus and that shelf cloud. Forget about it.
And there's been some really active weather this week too. I mean, in the plains and the upper Midwest, we just had a big tornado that was up in Wisconsin, Appleton, I believe.
Yeah.
And some of the pictures that are coming out of this, you see these, you see the rotation, you see the wall cloud, you see the shelf cloud, you see the gust front coming through. It's really, I mean, it's mesmerizing.
And I was watching the warnings yesterday between New Jersey and North Carolina. There were tornado watches in effect, right? And there were tornado warnings that got issued too. So everyone else gets pretty interesting weather. Of course, can be damaging, and that's a negative part. But I mean, it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
So fascinating. All right, Riley, what are we talking about this week?
Yeah, I talked with a local pulmonologist about air quality and fire. Well, we're in fire season, right? So talking about how smoke can affect your health.
All right, we'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Thanks for joining us this week on Atmospheric Insight. Today, I have pulmonologist Dr. Clarice Glenn with Kaiser Permanente. Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Clarice.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Let's jump in and talk about a few things, right? Because there are health risks when it comes to the summertime, air pollution, and wildfire smoke. So, luckily this year, the wildfires have been pretty minimal, but wildfire smoke has become a recurring issue here in California, especially as it's heating up and the climate's changing. Can you tell us what happens to our lungs exactly when we're breathing in that smoke and and even if it's a long or short period of time, what effects does that have on us?
Yeah, so great question, and something that has been at the forefront of medicine in the last several years, especially as we're seeing an uptick in wildfire smoke. So wildfire smoke is a hazardous mix of toxic gases, water vapor, and tiny microscopic particles. And when we inhale wildfire smoke, those microscopic particles and gases penetrate deep into our airways. That triggers intense inflammation, oxidative stress, and irritation, immediately leading to symptoms of coughing, shortness of breath, wheezing. It can cause asthma attacks and render us vulnerable to respiratory infections in the days following the exposure.
And for someone who is healthy, and doesn't have lung issues like myself.
Mhm.
Who is more at risk? Am I at risk over a longer period of time, even though I don't have issues?
Mhm.
Who are most at risk with the complications with this?
Yeah, so there is a sensitive population. So patients or people who are most vulnerable are people with pre-existing lung conditions like COPD or asthma, pre-existing cardiac conditions,
Mhm.
the elderly, children, but also pregnant women. This is a group we cannot forget because studies have found that pregnant women who are exposed to wildfire smoke, even for a brief period of time,
Mhm.
have an increased risk of preterm labor. However, healthy people are not immune. Even healthy people are at risk for lasting respiratory damage, even after a brief exposure. And it's been found that even healthy people who are exposed to wildfire smoke inhalation can develop new onset lung conditions like COPD or asthma and develop respiratory infections as well.
I want to dive in a little bit more into this too, because I have kids, and they're 8 years old, and I know that children are, are are somebody that we have to watch closely and don't want them outside for a long period of time. And you talk to people about people with COPD and asthma. Um, what specific precautions should we take for our kids, for older adults that do have lung issues? And say we have wildfires or even poor air quality that will last for days. What can we do to prevent that?
Yeah, children are particularly sensitive because their lungs are still developing. The most critical precautions we can take and they should take is prioritizing indoor shelter. Avoid going outside. That's
Mhm.
the most important thing to do in the sensitive population. But also tracking the local data. It's important to be aware and informed. So checking the air quality index when you know there's wildfire smoke in the air is really important because it'll give
Mhm.
you the numbers. And there are lots of sources online that you can look for, but airnow.gov is a great resource. You can just type in your zip code and it'll tell you what the local air quality index is for that day.
Mhm.
Numbers over 100 are absolutely unhealthy for sensitive people. So again,
Mhm.
pre-existing conditions, children, elderly, pregnant,
Mhm.
and levels of above 150 are unsafe for everybody, even healthy individuals. So checking your local air quality index, avoiding going outside, the two most important things that you should do to prevent the risks of smoke inhalation. But also while you're indoors, it's important to ensure that the air quality is as pure as it can be. So
Mhm.
keep doors and windows closed. If you know that you have leaky windows leading up to fire season, trying to get those sealed or replaced is important. So we call that
Mhm.
weatherizing the house. Um, Turning on the air conditioning and keeping it on recirculate is important. And then using a carb certified air purifier with the HEPA filter. The HEPA
Mhm.
filter will filter out those toxic microscopic particles.
That's great advice, with that too. Now, speaking of, you know, since climate's changing, right? It's getting warmer. We are seeing more fires. Um, have you seen more patients coming in with lung issues in recent years compared
Oh,
to 10 years ago? Is it getting worse? And why do you think that's happening?
absolutely. Huge increase in hospitalizations due to respiratory related illnesses. But even in my clinic, and it's not just me, it's pulmonologists in the region, California at large, we are seeing more asthma flare ups and COPD flare ups during wildfire season.
Mhm.
Means these patients are requiring more and more medicines just to stave off the symptoms. But I've also seen previously healthy patients, previously healthy and young patients coming in
Mhm.
with sudden onset symptoms, requiring steroids and inhalers, medications that they never previously needed, simply because they were exposed to wildfire smoke. And it could have just been for a few hours or a couple of days.
And if you're out in it, you can get long-term effects, correct? Or do your lungs self-heal?
So Everybody is different, but even a brief exposure can cause intense inflammation, leading to permanent scarring and reduced lung function. Longer-term data is needed, particularly in the healthy population, but we know that even a brief exposure can lead to extreme health risks. We've also found that ER visits are significantly increased during wildfire season for patients with cardiac issues. So we're seeing more people coming in with chest pain, strokes, and heart attacks.
And if you're wanting to take precautions, you talked about, being inside, using the air conditioning. If you're outside, is there a certain mask that you can use? Can you use just a mask that's over the counter, or do you need to go into the N95 mask that we wore during COVID?
Yes, great question. We definitely need to use an N95 mask. These are the only masks that will adequately filter out the microscopic particles, which are the particles that are toxic. Those particles are so small that when you inhale them, they bypass the nose and the throat's natural defenses and travel directly to the lower airways. And once they reach the lower airways, our body actually recognizes them as foreign invaders and start attacking them, trying to remove them. This actually overwhelms our immune system, which is why we end up at risk for developing infections afterwards. So if we have to go outside, keep it brief.
Yep.
N95, and then as soon as you're in your car, turn on your air conditioning and close the windows.
I know that gets hard too, because even with having kids wanting to be outside during the summertime, and I remember last year when we were having the wildfires, they couldn't go out, or we were trying to stay safe, and they got really frustrated because they wanted to go to the pools. But it's one of those things that it's like, do you want to be, you want to have a safe environment, right? It's one of those tough calls.
Yeah,
So going forward, since we are in wildfire season, what's the most important message that you want Californians to know about protecting their lungs when we are going into the hot season, to the wildfire season?
Well, with that knowledge, knowing that this time is coming, we cannot avoid it, is to be aware, be prepared. Again, when a wildfire is reported, check your local air quality index. The most important thing, you're going to know if it's safe to go outside because you're going to know what the air quality is in your area. So if you know that it's elevated, you can minimize your outdoor exposure as much as possible. If you have to be out, wear an N95 mask, but do the best you can to stay indoors.
And I feel like every day on our weather forecast that we do here at Fox 40, we always have the air quality map up so people can see exactly what it is in their area.
Yeah, it's critical.
Absolutely. Dr. Glenn, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking with you in the future about more topics.
Absolutely. I'd love to be here again.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you, Riley. Very interesting. It's something that I looked up this week, actually, is that the chances of anyone in the United States being impacted by wildfire smoke have increased dramatically over the past 20 years. So it doesn't really matter if you live in a state that it's prone to wildfires or not, because that smoke doesn't care about what state you're in.
Right.
No political boundaries that it won't cross.
Yep.
It will just float wherever the wind pushes it, and you might have to deal with the consequences.
Absolutely.
All right, Riley, thank you very much. We're going to hear from Genevieve Melzer coming up in 2 minutes, and she's going to show us the best of all of WeatherWorks since we've started Atmospheric Insight.
Since last year, we've been on a journey discovering how weather impacts businesses and lives across our community. From atmospheric rivers to wildfire danger, this week we're looking back at some of the most memorable stories shared on WeatherWorks.
It was New Year's Eve a couple years ago where we had an atmospheric river and it rained like 4 or 5 inches. It started at 6 a.m. and it went all the way till like 8 or 9 p.m. And then conditions changed and this huge north wind picked up like at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I think it got up to like 60, 65 mile an hour gusts. And because of the saturation of the ground and those incredibly high winds for this area, we had on the golf course itself something like 40, 45 trees came down, and in the entire park it was like over 60 trees came down. The entire park staged a kind of a tree chipping area down kind of by Freeport and Sutterville intersection. For like months and months, it was just like, hey, you want free chips? Bring your pickup truck. And area residents and golfers went down and loaded up their flatbed with that chips because we had 60, 70 trees that had to get hauled off, chipped out, stumps ground. We were dealing with that probably till March or April.
We had the fire September 1st. We had the big fires that ravaged through. It was right behind us, right behind the hill, and they were forcing us to evacuate. That was one of the scariest times that we had. So, and it was the hottest day of the summer, this last summer. It was absolutely horrible. And there was only 5 of us down here at the property. We loaded up about 40 cats, and you see the friendlies that came around here. So if you've ever had to herd the cats, you know, we have a fire evacuation plan in place, and so it's pretty strict. We know what to do. We have enough carriers, but because we have semi-feral and feral cats, we cannot catch the cats that don't want to be caught. So the cats that are in the enclosures, those can be caught, and the cats that are friendly. But when you start to go in place to pick them up and put them in carriers, the cats are like, no, no, no. The only thing we can do is open the gates and knock them down to give the cats the best chance possible. So we waited to the last minute, and it was one CHP officer who was absolutely amazing. He had adopted from us, and we just said, please tell us, you know, we don't want to open the gates and release the cats. It's dangerous for them. And he just gave us the important information, and we decided we weren't going to evacuate. And then it was literally 20 minutes later, they said, oh, you don't have to evacuate. The fire department was amazing. There were, I think, 4 planes and 2 helicopters that had been dropping retardant and water on it. And they put it out pretty quickly. It's always a scary thing knowing, but we do keep over 100 feet perimeter of brush away from us. It's something that we think about, you know, every summer. Is what if. So in 20 years, that's the closest it's ever gotten.
We had a big major storm in 2023. There was a lot of storms, snow in the mountains. It was the same year John ran the 100-mile race, and our roof actually caved in and flooded our store. So we had to close down for 2 weeks and clean the store. And there's a new roof on there now, but with weather in an old building, this building is from the 40s. Every time there's a major storm, we're checking every corner for leaks.
It wasn't supposed to rain, and it started heavily pouring as I was pulling in. Plastic bags over equipment, someone following with umbrellas as you're loading stuff in on carts. When that happens, the load in time is so much longer. The setup time is like fill in the blank, because now we need a tent, and the ceremony is completely outdoors. But what ended up happening is, going into that situation, you're like, oh man, like this is gonna be a bummer, but it actually turned out to be like really cool. Everybody had umbrellas. Luckily the venue had umbrellas, and everybody was at the ceremony. They had their umbrellas up, and the ceremony went well, and the couple really embraced it. They had a tent for the dinner area, but the dance floor was still outdoors. And when the couple was doing their first dance, it was in the rain, and they really embraced it. And they didn't let the weather bring them down. I didn't let it bring me down. And that vibe was a strong vibe that just kept going through the whole night. Just do not let your day be ruined by weather.
These stories are just a few examples of how weather continues to influence life across our region. For Fox 40's Atmospheric Insight Weather Works, I'm Jean-Pierre Melzer. Now back to you guys.
Genevieve, thank you so much. And what a great example of how, if anyone says weather in California is boring, they're not talking about us.
True.
They're talking about San Diego.
Yeah, right.
Got plenty going on here. Riley, it's been a pleasure working with you again. We'll see everyone back here in a couple weeks from now, I think. All right. Take care.